And today we're just going to have a conversation about REAl 2015. So REAl 2015 was our reality computing conference that we just hosted in San Francisco 2 weeks ago. And we're just going to spend, the next 30 minutes or so, just kind of talking about some of our takeaways, what we saw, what we liked, kind of the direction that things are going. So, if any of you happen to have been there, we'd love to hear from you. Feel free to submit a question, or if you have something to say, we can unmute you and you can add to the conversation. But with that, I'll hand it over to Elmer and Dominique and Richard.
Great, thanks, Eric. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us this morning. Today we're going to talk about REAl 2015. I think the event took place almost 2 weeks ago. It seems like an eternity ago. The three of us, so Dominique Poulican, Richard Blatcher, and myself, were closely involved in that, in organizing the event. We were very happy at how it came off. So I'm not sure if any of you attended, as Eric mentioned, but if so, I would love to hear from you and your opinion. So what we want to do this morning is run you through a little bit what what REAl was all about, what we saw there, what type of what we're going to be doing, some of the exhibitors that what we saw over there, and also talk a little bit about reality computing to start off with, because at the end of the day, the REAl conference was really the first reality computing conference that we have organized. So we wanted to kind of set the scene for you guys, if you've missed it, what reality computing is all about, before we dive into some of the metrics and some of the what to know about REAl, and where we think we're going to take this thing going forward. So the first thing probably to start off with is kind of talk a little about reality computing. It's this. Oh, let me see where. Here we go. I hope you can see this. That we're trying to. It's a term we've been putting into the market for a while. When we talk about capture, compute, and create, that's kind of the motto of REAl as well. And that's where we tailor the message of reality computing around. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hand it over to Dominique, who's going to talk a little bit about reality computing and hopefully give you some more clarity what we mean by that. So,
yeah, hi everybody. So we've been introducing this new industry category about 18 months ago, and what we try to put under reality computing is a complete process of capturing reality with all possible means, processing this reality data, or computing meaningful information based on this reality data, and at the end creating deliverables based on reality data. So capture, compute, create are really the three pillars of reality computing. So starting with capture, we have seen a new range of devices that allow to capture reality, either, of course, with laser scanning that has been around for 25 years, but more and more photogrammetry solutions, so with drones, flying cameras now. And also we have a new range of depth sensors coming out. You heard maybe about the RealSense sensor from Intel. We'll be talking about this one because they were at REAl this year. So there are various ways of capturing reality and creating either a point cloud or a mesh based on this reality, and this is what we call reality data. So once you have captured the reality, what do you do with it? So this is an example of a laser point cloud that was captured by Topcon here in San Francisco. So this is kind of traditional LiDAR type of point cloud. This is one way to capture reality data, but now thanks to new devices, like even the smartphone is a capture device. These are an example of what Elmer took from an airplane going to Las Vegas. So by taking a few pictures from the aircraft, he could compute this 3D model of the Earth. So many different ways to capture reality is becoming a commodity now. Then you need to compute based on these laser scans or sonar data or photos or new depth sensors. And this is where Autodesk plays an interesting role. So this is an example of using reality data in Autodesk software like AutoCAD or Revit. So anything you can build on reality, Means that you don't start from a blank sheet of paper, you design on reality as is, as built. So it's much more compelling and useful workflow. And then once you have created this 2D and 3D meaningful information from reality data, how do you translate that back into the field? So either through augmented reality, virtual reality, 3D printing, laser scanning again being used on the field to help for the construction site with point layout. These are all the processes that are being. So we try to encompass all these capture, compute, create as long as we deal with reality data. This is what we call reality computing. Another set of deliverables you would find, for example, the capture side here on the left-hand side was LiDAR data that's been processed. On the deliverable is a report that will give the clearance for all the bridges along a highway. So this is another example of a complete reality computing workflow. So this was a quick introduction to reality computing, and again, you will hear more and more about it over the months to come.
Yeah, thanks, Dom. Thanks for that introduction. So the way I wanted to kind of run through this, and I think between me, Richard, and Dom, we'll both all pitch in and give you our opinions on how this was, because we have all of our own perspectives on this. I really want to kind of build it around what I call the metrics, right? Is what are the numbers and what are the things that we saw, like from an attendee perspective, from an demos and exposition perspective, and from a talks perspective. So the first one, just to give you an introduction where this thing was at, is we started with the number one. Is we had really an amazing venue there, and I think that came together very nicely. For those of you who don't know what you're looking at, there's three things that stick out into the ocean. That's actually Fort Mason. It's an old military fort, and I think it was used in the Second World War to transport parts for planes for the war and things like that. So these are some of the big halls, and we actually used the middle hall that you see there for our event. It's called the Herbst Pavilion, and the nice thing there is we had a great stage, a great theater at the end, and a great space to actually showcase all these expositions, these demos. Just some feelings of what we're looking at. This was the view that everybody seems to love. Sometimes there were more people standing outside in the great weather, looking out, this $1 million view over the Golden Gate Bridge, than walking around inside. So it's an incentive for you guys to come. We could also see great views of Alcatraz in there as well. So for those of you who haven't frequently visited San Francisco yet, please come and see this. So yeah, the venue. This is just to give you an impression of the venue. This is the main theater where we held the talks. Beautiful location. It worked out really well for us. And of course, the way typical San Francisco style, we managed to get some good food in there. And the best way to get food in San Francisco is to get a bunch of food trucks together and have a casual lunch. And that's basically the vibe of the event that we wanted to give, more this raw San Francisco vibe, not high end. And we didn't really want the event to feel like a conference, right? The way we always discuss it is that REAl should be an anti-conference. It should not be this typical trade show that you would normally go to, and that hopefully that philosophy will live on going forward. So really the way we looked at it is really the combination between this World's Fair of expositions in Expo Hall with these world-class talks that we'll talk about next. So that gives you a feeling of the venue and the location where we held the event. So some quick things on the speakers. Our next metric, we had basically 60 world-class speakers on stage, divided over 2 stages, over 2 days, talking about some of the pretty amazing topics. I'll let the other guys pitch in as well. I'll list 2 or 3 of the ones that really stood out for me. At the top you can see Tim Weber. Tim Weber, he actually, I'm not sure how many of you have seen the movie Gravity, but he was basically the main guy behind the virtual effects to create the movie Gravity, and that movie was 98% VFX, basically. So he gave an amazing talk on how that film came to be, how they use robotic systems with the use of bot and dolly and a special LED tube where you put actors in to actually be able to record the actors, so that they can get a much more realistic view of those actors' faces when they render them in CG. It was an amazing story. We also had Tim Zaman from the Rijksmuseum in Amsterdam, who was specialized in scanning, high-end paintings like Rembrandt's and like Van Gogh's, to be able to create a 3D printed version of that same painting, so that you could actually see exactly how to paint or paint it on the canvas and things like that. It's an amazing story of how they were able to capture that painting, how they were able to, digitize it and optimize it, even, make the paint layers thicker so you could see better how things were done, and then be able to print them and again to bring it back to the physical world, which is really the create part. Yeah, so maybe some of the other guys, any of the talks that you guys want to mention?
Well, I think the most interesting thing was the fact that there was this thread between all the talks around reality computing. Yep. And there was this diverse, there were artists, there were industry leaders, there were thought leaders, there were people from manufacturing, from architecture, from science, from research. The most interesting thing was that there was a lot of cross-pollination and learning from each other. So you had business people in the scanning industry learning and talking in the same language as an artist. And so that's really the most interesting point, was that 60 of these diverse speakers had this kind of common topic of how they use this reality computing at different stages of what's keeping them awake at night on a day-to-day basis.
Absolutely, yeah. That was really what we hope to achieve, is really getting, like Richard said, getting the artist talking to the engineer about something that actually they, which is a common topic and something that they both deal with on a daily basis, but from a different perspective. So I think that was a value that we got back from a lot of the attendees, that really came out very clearly. So they were really happy with that.
Well, it was very interesting to see how, startups, we had startups like Occipital or Matterport, or these guys are really defining new business models, new use cases, leveraging, these depth sensors. How would they see their future compared to, let's say, a Topcon, which is 85 years old and has been in mapping and surveying for forever? So how they relate to each other. That was an interesting conversation, definitely.
Yep. No, definitely. That's spot on. So with regards to the speakers, we're not gonna dive into much more detail, but I think the message here is that we tend to put a lot of these talks, as many as we can, depending on the permissions we get from the speakers, we're going to put them online. So stay tuned to some of the communication that we will bring out, but we will post those on YouTube channels in the next couple of months. We're already very busy at work, editorializing all the talks that were given. We've recorded every single one of them, and we hope to make them available to the public for seeing in the next couple of months. So we're excited to be able to share that with you all. So the next metric I'd like to talk about, and I'm going to hand over to Dominique on this one, is really the Expo Hall. I think we really hope to get this World's Fair of these technologies available, and that people could play with it and taste it and experience them more than just a regular trade show. So we just took a random sample of some of these booths that were there, and I'll let Dominic be surprised by which ones I picked. And
yeah, of course. No, that was interesting. We had various types of companies here. We have got gold partners, that people that really are in this business for forever. We had what we call demo partners, so more like startup style, and we also invited compelling, new startups or even academic research to show their latest technologies, either in the capture side, compute side, or the creation side. They were all enthusiastic. What we try to define here is a new concept. So this was not a typical show like with a booth every, with a 10 by 10 booth every 10 feet. So more disorganized way of doing that. So this is a picture of the entrance of the show. As you can see here on the first, how do you call it, these cases, where an example of people producing artistic cases based on human body shapes. So you don't see it here, but Each of the cases has a body shape around it, and then you see the hole. The hole is really the Fort Mason is a beautiful place for such an event, and yeah, this is a nicer view of the exhibit. So here we have the TopCon on the Leica with a typical booth, which we try to avoid, to be honest. But anyway, this was the first show of this kind. So, but most of the others were really like you can walk in, you can discuss about the future technology, something like that. At the back of the hall, you see the three containers that were the Autodesk area. On the right-hand side, you see our drone cage, so we could fly drones inside. So we had DJI, you know, the manufacturer of the Phantom and the new Inspire one. This is the one flying, by the way. This is Inspire one by DJI. They were the sponsors of this drone cage, but all other companies could fly their own drones as well. This is another. This is again a DJI Inspire one. Flight by Gonzalo from Autodesk. This is an example of the academic research guys from Hong Kong that created a virtual reality experience to be back into the case of sorry, I'm missing the yeah. So they scan an entire place. And now they allow to move freely on to walk through inside this cave with this cool virtual reality. So the guy is holding VR glasses, as you see, from Oculus, but he also has a laptop in his back, so he can move freely around the 10 by 10 area, and then he can walk inside this beautiful cave. This is a CNC machine that was provided to us by Haas. So maybe Richard, can you? You have the background on this one.
Yeah, so one of the interesting aspects of the Create part of the conference was we wanted to cover really around the future of making things, because we had, as you can see here, this is a 5-axis vertical CNC machine tool, which of course probably represents about 90% of everything that's actually made is made using one of these kind of subtractive manufacturing processes. You even see next to it on the right-hand side something called an other lab, which is one of these very small CNC machine tools. Again, it's computer controlled and it can be very accurate, and they were demonstrating anything from the case of a watch being CNC machine. And then to the other end of the scale, we would have 3D printers. So we had an Ember 3D printer from Autodesk. So it's just this diverse way of creation, being either the more traditional machining, the more modern additive manufacturing, and a lot of the talks that we have were talking about the combination of the two, which is something that Airbus, for example, talks about. So it's great to have a representation of all of the different ways that you can turn your scan into a manufactured or a made item.
Yeah, we also had an interesting track on maritime, maritime initiative. So, we also have inside Autodesk a maritime initiative. So we have these kind of devices that are being equipped with all kinds of sensors, being underwater sonar, being photogrammetry, so like cameras, being laser scanning, something like that. So the idea is to be able to scan port infrastructures, both above the water, but also under the water. And you can imagine there is a big business in this kind of industry, not only on port infrastructure, but also related to oil and gas. So I say discovering all these kind of new applications for laser scanning, photogrammetry, or for processing this kind of reality data was really interesting. This was art structure.
Yeah, but from Arab. So this is so Arab was one of our main partners in the event, our gold partners, and it's interesting that an engineering firm actually decided. Typically, you'd expect a vendor to be, a partner sponsor to the event, and in this case, actually, Arab, as a big, architecture engineering firm, actually, embraced really the concept of reality computing in this event. And what they did here is they actually created sort of an art piece from a bunch of wooden segments and 3D printed connectors, right? So the technology, the engineering technology, actually how they created those connectors, and they were all 3D printed, I think, on a MakerBot, and they were then used to assemble this wooden structure. And they are exploring and how how architectural design will evolve, and how 3D printing and additive and subtractive manufacturing will evolve what they can do from an architectural and engineering perspective. So that was basically what they showcased.
Another example of of the create aspect of the reality computing workflow is augmented reality. So we were lucky to have Metaio, which is a worldwide leader in augmented reality today, showing their latest technology with iPads and iPhones. Another, coming back to the compute side, we had these guys from Artec Group showing their Shapify booth, which is a body scanning booth that will automatically turn your body scan into a 3D print. So everybody could have his own body being scanned, and then we received a few days ago a link to download your model, and then you can buy a 3D print of it for a price range between $100 and $300, given the size of the print.
Yeah, you can even download the model for $30. Absolutely. And it's a very strange feeling, 3D printing yourself.
It's interesting because this company is not making the business themselves of producing these 3D prints. They sell the complete business to people that are willing to establish a new business, like say in a shopping mall or something like that. So they have so many of them, so it's a promising business. Another technology in the capture side, but not only capture side, capture, compute, create the complete workflow was shown by Matterport, which is a company based here in the Silicon Valley area. And they use depth sensors. You can see the device on the left-hand side. They have 3 devices on a tripod, and they can scan interiors for real estate, for commercial buildings, and turn that into a Unity-based virtual reality experience in minutes. Really changing the game. And then, yeah.
This is Made in Space. We were very lucky to get Made in Space to attend the event and show some of their stuff. So actually, the 3D printer you see in the back is under the TV. That's the same device that's actually sitting in the International Space Station right now. They developed a 3D printer to be able to, and it got into the news recently that they printed a wrench in space. So they literally they were the first ones to put a 3D printer inside of the International Space Station for use there. So they're really pioneering the additive local manufacturing in space world. So we're pretty excited to have them. So our next metric, really, and then we're slowly going to wrap up here, is just to give you a feeling of how many people came. And so we had 1,085 attendees come to the event, and which we're personally really proud of that, especially considering it was the first time that this event ever took place. So I think we overreached really we hope to get about half of that. So we really doubled that. And those 1,800 or 1,080 people actually were from over 600 companies and institutions. So from a lot of them, they were all professionals working in their daily lives who came to this event. So a very diverse group of people from all over the world to come attend and experience this reality computing event for the first time. It was a great event. It was very busy. We had good food. We had good drinks at the end of the day. On Thursday night, we held a bit of a party for everybody. We had the San Francisco Virtual Reality Group attend and do one of their meetups there. So that was lots of fun, lots of fun and games there. So I think all in all, we were very happy with the attendees, not only the amounts, but also the quality of the people, right? The conversations were extremely rich, and we're very excited about that, and hopefully we'll be able to continue that going forward. Quick little video from somebody who attended. This was an interesting one. Let me just show you this. Here we go. You can hear this. This is Brian Matthews, one of our VPs.
Today being here at the REAl2015 conference, the thing that's exciting me is just the democratization of the hardware. The hardware used to be really expensive, really hard to use, and with so many companies companies investing in it. The prices are really going to plummet. It's getting so easy to use that just about anybody will be able to use this and will have this probably built into their cell phones and other devices in the near future. So that's great. If you look to the future, what excites me is not just the capture or the manufacturing and 3D printing and things like that. It's the software that I think is where the future is going to be. Once we have that hardware, the analogy is what happened in 2D photography. You had the ability to take 2D digital photos and you had photo printers. But now when you look at photography, everything from putting photos in the cloud, managing them, editing those photos, making derivatives and mashups, and getting answers from that data. That's what I think is really the future. Taking this data and getting insights and answers from reality data.
For more about REAl 2015,
I'll stop it there. So why I ran this one, I wanted to basically point you to a YouTube channel we've put in place that includes a lot of we've done a whole bunch of interviews with people who attended the event. So if you look at REAl 2015 on YouTube, then you'll be able to find all these talks. I really recommend you looking at those. There's some very inspirational ones. These are not the presentations, but people who are getting interviewed on the show floor, and also showing some of the stuff that they're doing in their daily lives. So I really recommend you have a look at this YouTube site and some of the videos that are there. Let me go down, and I think it's time for us to wrap up. A quick conversation about what's next. That's something which, like I said, when we started out this endeavor of REAl, we didn't actually even know if anybody would show up or care about this. So we're really happy to see that the response that we've gotten to the event was very, very positive, and everybody sort of, encore said, we need you to do this again. So we started thinking about this, and we'd love to hear your opinions. After this little presentation that we gave to you, is things like, should we do, REAl 2016? Is that something that, listening to this, or maybe some of you attended, if you have an opinion, if we should do this again, please let us know. We'd love to get that, as we're thinking about this internally as well. And the other thing that we're thinking about, and we've got asked about, is to do some more local versions of REAl. Like, could we do, the analogy that people have given us is things like a TEDx, right? A more localized version of these talks. Again, with this, it's something that we're thinking about. It's an intriguing idea, but we'd love to get your opinions on what that means. So, to wrap it up, basically, is if you guys have got any questions, please now would be the time to ask them. If not, then I think we're gonna close this webinar up. Eric, I'll hand it back over to you.
All right, thanks, guys. That was great. As we said earlier, if any of you guys actually attended the event, feel free to either raise your hand or send me a message, and I can unmute you and let you tell us all about it. Otherwise, if anybody has any questions, feel free to type them there in the question widget. But otherwise, thanks everybody for attending. Thank you guys for the presentation. We'll give it a second here to see if we have some questions. But no, we're really happy about the way things turned out. It was a great event.
Indeed, Eric. Yeah. So for those of you who haven't come, hopefully this will trigger you if we do this next year, which is looking more and more likely every day. Then that will all get you to attend, and we'll make it an even better show than we did this year. So we're all pretty excited about it.
So we have one vote to do an East Coast show.
Okay. Awesome.
Well, that could be a challenge with the weather.
Yeah, we might do it at a different time of the year, though.
we were very popular having it in San Francisco in the sunshine in February, but yeah, to Elmer's point, we are looking at local versions. So yeah, that is definitely a possibility.
All right. Anybody else? All right. Well, I think that'll about do it. As always, you guys can reach out to us. You can use the email address recap.community@autodesk.com. Feel free to send us an email. If you have additional thoughts or follow up to this session or any of our sessions, feel free to reach out to us, and we'd be happy to hear from you. But with that, I'd like to thank Elmer, Dominique, and Richard for being with us and talking about their experiences. I'd like to thank all of you guys for joining us today, and we hope to see you again soon. Thanks.
Thank you, everyone. You guys have a good day.